President Trump is declaring a national emergency at the United States southern border with Mexico. The declaration cracking down on illegal immigration into the United States and allows the Department of Defense to deploy armed forces to the border and free up resources to help build a wall and other barriers. Trump's executive order to cut off birthright citizenship is also facing legal challenges in over a dozen states. In a lawsuit filed today, Trump is accused of trying to eliminate a, quote, well-established and long-standing constitutional principle by Arizona's Attorney General Kris Mayes is calling Trump's executive action nakedly unconstitutional. Here's what she had to say.
While the president has broad authority on matters of immigration, our lawsuit asserts that the president acted far outside the bounds of his legal authority in issuing this order. This lawless order is not only nakedly unconstitutional, it is an attack on families and children in this state and across this country. And it will cause irreparable damage and harm to Arizonans.
Well, as Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes is joining me now from Phoenix. Attorney General Mayes, thank you for taking the time to be here with us. And let's just jump right in here. I know that you have argued here that Trump's executive order violates the 14th Amendment as you see it. What actions are you taking to protect birthright citizenship for people in Arizona right now?
So thanks for having me. We have filed, along with 21 other states across this country, a lawsuit that seeks to achieve a TRO against the Trump administration for what is a clear violation of the 14th Amendment that ensures that any person who is born in the United States is a United States citizen. And I think it's important to remember that the 14th Amendment goes all the way back to the Dred Scott decision before the Civil War, and it overturned Dred Scott, which said that former slaves and their children could not be citizens. And so for more than 150 years, this has been the law of our country. And the 14th Amendment is clear. It is the plain language of the 14th Amendment that anyone who is born in this country, this is about the American dream. It is about making sure that anyone who is born here is a citizen and can participate in our country, in our processes, including voting, including being a part of the military, including being a part of our education system. And we allege, all of the states allege, that this will cost our states hundreds of millions of dollars because now the states are going to have to be responsible for providing these providing services to people who essentially are now going to be stateless people.
Well, can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because again, you've said Arizona will lose hundreds of millions of dollars of funding if this becomes law. Explain that to me exactly.
So, you know, the federal government provides funding to the states for everything from, you know, for many different things, including Medicaid. So, you know, in our state, that's called Access. That money, though, is for individuals who are considered citizens, including the children of people who are not citizens at the time. So those children who are born here are citizens today. Under this new executive order, apparently the federal government would not provide that funding, or that funding would not be available to these children. I think it's also important to remember that this is going to cause chaos in our hospitals and our healthcare system, because all of a sudden it's going to be on the hospitals to try to figure out, you know, what goes on a birth certificate and who is a citizen, and whether the child that has been born has parents who are citizens. And you know, so it is going to cause absolute chaos. It's going to cause damage to the states, not to mention to our doctors, to our hospitals. I mean, what's next? Are these doctors and hospitals going to be in the position of having to ask the patients whether they're citizens? Are they going to deprive these moms of health care because they don't know whether they're going to be reimbursed for that hospital stay. You know, the ramifications of this are enormous, absolutely enormous. And then I just have to go back to the fact that it is so clearly unconstitutional, and it is absolutely dismaying and unbelievable to me as a top law enforcement official of the state of Arizona that the president of the United States would engage in something that is so clearly unconstitutional. It violates the black letter law of our country and our constitution, and the AGs of this country will not stand for it.
Well, and Attorney General, you bring up some things here about the cost to the state here, as well as the fact that this will impact pregnant women that are currently pregnant, and this law has gone into effect while they're pregnant, and that does include both undocumented mothers, expectant mothers, as well as those that just don't have permanent status. But also, I'm curious, because by our count here, Arizona's undocumented population is about 3.5%. That's not very much. What was your conversation here? Tell me how you decided to take on this lawsuit instead of maybe let another state that has a larger undocumented population spend their tax dollars on something like this.
Well, I think it's important to remember that we have thousands of children born every year here in Arizona, thousands of children whose citizenship would be put at jeopardy if this executive order were to go into place. So it absolutely affects us, and we believe it could result in hundreds of millions of dollars lost to the state of Arizona. So we absolutely jumped in on this, and I think it's why you saw 21 other states filed the very same lawsuit. We filed in the Western District of Washington with, I believe, 3 other states, and then there's an Eastern lawsuit as well. This is fundamentally fighting for our rights. It's fighting for the integrity of our Constitution. No president is allowed through the issuance of an executive order in his or her pen to shred the American Constitution. The 14th Amendment exists. It is there. And it says that any person born in the United States, any person born in the United States is a citizen of the United States. Donald Trump cannot get around that by signing a piece of paper on his desk on his first day in office.
Again, we know that President Trump has declared a national emergency at the border. What, if any, steps are you doing within the state to try to curb illegal immigration?
Well, what I would say to Donald Trump is welcome to the party. And where have you been? Why did you tank the bipartisan border bill when you had a chance to support it? God knows how much fentanyl has been allowed to come into the United States because Donald Trump told Republicans in Congress, don't support the bipartisan border bill. What Donald Trump has not done yet, and I didn't see it anywhere in all of those executive orders that he's signed, what he hasn't done is said, I'm going to double or triple the number of DEA agents in Arizona. That's what we need to fight the fentanyl crisis, which I have been fighting as Attorney General. You know, why has Donald Trump not double or tripled the size and the number of Border Patrol agents at the border already? Why didn't he do that with a day one executive order? You know, what I hear from him is a whole bunch of words and a whole bunch of executive orders and a lot and not enough action. So if he was really serious about securing the border, he would have done those things already. He would have done that on day one. He would have said, I'm going to fight the fentanyl crisis. I'm going to help the border state AGs like me fight the fentanyl crisis, which we have been doing for years, for the last 2 years down here, seizing a record amount of fentanyl. 50% or more of all the fentanyl in the United States comes through Arizona, and yet Donald Trump allowed this to happen on his watch during his first administration. So let's have a lot more action and less talk Out here in Arizona, where I was born and raised, you know what they call that? What Donald Trump's been doing? They call that all hat and no cattle. So we welcome any real effort on his part, but so far I don't see any of that.
Well, he certainly is. He is saying that this is one of his #1 issues, and that is what put him in the White House. And so we will certainly see how these days to come. Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes. Yeah, thanks for being here with us.